Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I just want to basically stand on the existing protocols and thank you for the opportunity. And I just would want to call up immediately the membership of this session, the discussants. The first would be from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Perpetua Iyere Oswahon. She is the Chief Agricultural Officer at the Federal Department of Agriculture with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. I have also from the Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Nurudeen A. Zauro, the Development Finance Department official, yes, who will be engaging from the CBN's perspective. Permit me to call up Professor Chiedozie Egesi, the project leader, Nextgen Cassava, and the co-lead Component 1 for Basics 2 project. It is my pleasure to call up a very good friend, an action commissioner, in the person of Dr. Samsom Adeola Odedina, the Honourable Commissioner for Agriculture of Ogun State of Nigeria. Thank you. You're welcome, Doctor. Finally, I have Mr. John Oseji, Director of Policy Advocacy, representing the Acting Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission. Can Mr. Oseji join us, please? Okay. So, like was earlier stated, this session pretty much settles itself to engage on key policies for fostering an enabling environment for the Cassava Value Chain Development, premising that conversation on the input side of things. Without much ado, I will assume my seat and we will take on the conversation. I think we have very limited time on our hands, so we'll just shoot immediately. Yes, so very briefly, I'll just allow my panelists to, in 3 statements, 3 sentences, introduce yourselves and let us know what you're involved in. Professor Egesi, just go on from there.
Thank you. I have this. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Professor Chiedozie Egesi. I'm a cassava breeder. I work as a senior scientist at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA, but I'm also a staff of the National Root Crop Research Institute. I'm a director at the National Root Crop Research Institute, so I wear 2 hats as I sit here. I'm very much involved in the development of new varieties and also have had like 20 years experience in the cassava value chain development. Should I stop there?
It's a good place to stop. Doc?
Yes, my name is Adeola Odedina. I'm the Commissioner for Agriculture in Ogun State. Before I became Commissioner, I used to be Provost of Federal College of Agric, Akure. I've also worked as a Rector of a Polytechnic, and in Ogun State, what we do is we've set a target for ourselves on food security, national security, job creation, and industrialization using agriculture, and particularly the cassava crop.
Excellent.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Perpetua Iyere. I work for Federal Ministry of Agriculture. I've been working in root and tuber subsector for the past 20 years. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Nurudeen Abubakar Zauro. I work with Development Finance Department of the Central Bank of Nigeria. I'm part of the Cassava Champions team, in the implementation of the Central Bank 5-star Cassava Project that everybody talked about today. So we are also part of the Central Bank's Commodity Development Initiative, which is promoting the implementation of Central Bank's Anchor Borrower program that everybody knows about. Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, moderator. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Oseji, Director, Policy Advocacy, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. I've been in NIPC since 20 years now, over 20 years. So I'm happy to be in your midst. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so basically we want to set the tone for this conversation by indicating that our emphasis is going to be on the policy ecosystem. And when we talk policy, we have clearly delved into an area where, as conversations have tended to portray, there is a high level of public sector input. But of course, we're looking again to bring the private sector more robustly into that framework so that we can really be able to say that policy formulation, framing, formulation, and implementation, is indeed a PPP. So having said that, I'm going to start with you, Perpetua. I mean, you have to be my starting point. Above being a woman, they say ladies first, isn't it? Yes, you are also from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. In so saying, I must also make some full disclosure that I happen to be involved in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture in terms of my responsibilities and my role play. The immediate, okay, let me put it this way. I've just transited from technical advisor role to the role that I'm playing at the present time. So no one should lose sight of that at all as this conversation progresses. So Perpetua, I want to ask you, from a policy standpoint, how is the enabling environment for seed development, from in your view?
Okay, at the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, I want us to understand one fact that Seed Council is part of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. And that is one policy the ministry has established to be able to regulate the seed system, especially as it regards to cassava. In Federal Ministry of Agriculture, the Seed Council is the regulating body for the ministry for seed system concerning every seed, every crop, irrespective of the crop that is involved, once it has to do with seed. Seed Council regulates. It's a policy of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. Beyond that, the ministry recognized the fact that there is need to use certified seed by farmers. And like we have earlier said, that most farmers don't even know that some of these seeds exist. So what do the ministry do? The ministry do a lot of sensitization and advocacy on farmers to make sure that they are sensitized, they are informed of what is going on, and then the Seed Council will not be able to regulate them using existing strategies that you must use certified seed in your production. Okay. Where you don't use certified seed, it means you cannot be part of the stakeholders that the ministry is using. Beyond that, the ministry is equally developing the value chain, because we all understand that if you have the seed and the value chain is not developed, then there will be a break along the line. So the ministry is developing along the value chain so that as the man, the seed entrepreneur, is producing the seed, there will be an uptaker. As the man producing the roots, producing the roots, yes, is producing the roots, there will equally be an off-taker. That is to say, the industry is developed beyond the seed system. Thank you.
Excellent. I think that is a very critical point you've made there, that even though our emphasis is on seeds and the input side of the chain, we should not lose sight of the more encompassed value chain, which really is supposed to be the key focus. I'll come back to Dr. Odedina, because that is a perspective that paints the broad-based national position. Let's talk about it from the sub-national perspective. How is Ogun State, using your state as the entry point, how is Ogun State collaboratively putting forward policies to enhance, the cassava value chain development?
Yeah, this conversation is timely because in Ogun State, when we came into power or into office,
no, it's both. All the same, from what I know.
Yes. So we inherited a policy of 1989, and just last week or so, we reviewed the policy in conjunction with GIZ. Because this is 2021, and we have emerging opportunities that will help us as politicians, as people in government. What we are chasing is a huge agricultural opportunity based on policy of federal government, Millennium Development Goal, but we have on our hand opportunity in import substitution. We have on our hand foreign, local, national, international direct investment in agriculture. We also have on our hand challenges of unemployment. And in Ogun State, we have the largest hub of agro-processing. The biggest cassava buyers, they are in Ogun State. They're looking for raw materials. They can handle large orders. Some of them are also closing down as a result of lack of raw materials. And when His Excellency, the Governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, came into office, 150,000 people raised their hand up of using agriculture to prosper. Lo and behold, 30,000 of them signify cassava opportunity. What do we do? So necessity, they say, is the mother of invention. So we have to deliberately create our own state policy of deliberate enabling environment that will allow our people tap into cassava opportunity. The list might be endless. One, access to land. And the governor signed into law by May 2020 what we call free land framework for inclusive and responsive land administration that will allow investors to locate themselves in Ogun State, do a pact with community, gain acceptance, and will locate land for them. But when we talk about land access in this present, in the real sense of it, we have land for people who want to tap into SAPZ. As you know, we are the forerunner. We also have people who will go into primary production so that they can also meet raw material needs of those. And that's me. So I don't say we drag, we encourage up to 20, 30,000 people to go into cassava farming with our big brother, CBN, and other off-takers. How did they access land? So it's a deliberate policy that you must be anchored on 5 areas for you to be able to tap into cassava project. 1, government will provide land for you, access, then also clear also as infrastructure to support, because our brother CBN will not fund land clearing. So in a whole season, in a COVID season, the governor cleared 2,500 hectares of land in 20 local government areas. That is one. Then two, somebody must provide input, linkage, credit linkage. And these people who want to tap in agricultural opportunity, they don't need to go back to FUNAB or School of Agriculture. They need training. And we made it a law, compulsory training. If you have access loan in Ogun State, you must be trained. So that, because it's hinged on productivity and value chain, you must be trained, because if you don't pay back your loan as young people, I'm worried as Commissioner for Agriculture that I have 15,000 youths on the ground trying to make money from cassava. You know, young people, if they fail and go away, fine. But you also go into social media and say cassava is not profitable. Yeah. So you must be trained. That is law on enabling environment. We also have one on integrated rural development in such a way that rural places must be developed, roads and infrastructure. The Commissioner for Agriculture is mandatory to be a member of a committee that will locate roads that must be done to take care of our interest in farming. Okay. And there are emerging opportunities in agriculture of resource use. People competing for this and that, grazing or not grazing.
Commissioner, I know if I allow you.
So we also have a policy
you go on
that. We also have another policy on innovation, so that we allow our young people to tap on new farming method, greenhouse farming, and the role of cassava crop in those emerging farming entrepreneur has been well defined in our new
policy.
Policy.
Excellent. All right, Commissioner. And just before I go to the next discussant, I want to also make full disclosure that the Commissioner for Agriculture, Ogun State, though he's operating at the subnational level, is on loan from the federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development to the state.
These people are my
so
boss.
He bestrides, yes, he bestrides both levels of government. Then I will want to come to you, Dr. Nurudeen. All right? If you look at the fact that our job numbers are entering into very treacherous, or rather unemployment numbers are entering into very treacherous terrain. I understand that we are third in line globally for unemployment, and we need about 9 million jobs each year for the next 10 years to address that problem. And then we find that cassava, from our assessment of the crop, first and foremost, we are the largest producers globally. We're very poor in value add, but we also can see the possibilities in terms of job creation coming from this single crop across board. So I want to ask you, the program you talked about, the 5-Star Cassava Project, how is it being leveraged or positioned to address the needs, the need of job creation and also economic enhancement of our populace?
Okay, thank you so much, the moderator. And of course, thank you for this opportunity, of course, to speak to you, particularly now that we have the entire cassava value chain players in the house. I would like to start by, okay, he's talking about job creation. Of course, how do we ensure maximum benefits, of course, of particularly our policies that we roll out in the Central Bank of Nigeria. Okay, so what we normally do here is that we do conduct sort of surveys and, of course, other forms of engagement such as this, where we get feedback, from the players that would tell us, based on their assessment of the implementation of our policies and programs that was put in place by the Central Bank of Nigeria to ensure that we are achieving the initial objective it was initially meant for. As you are aware, the programs, I mean the policies and interventions of the central bank are actually put in place so as to enhance job creation and of course sustainable economic development, as you rightly said. So if you go into the memory lane, you would realize that what are those things that we've done in place to ensure that we've done the assessment, we get a feedback, and then we also improve on what we've been doing so as to ensure sustainable job creations. I can give you, if you think back 2015 in November, when the President of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, launched the Anko Borua program. After 4 years of implementation journey, in November again, 2019, then we now put all the cassava players, in Central Bank of Nigeria. We had a kind of like a conference where we assess our journey so far. All the various commodity, because the central bank put in place also sustainable commodity development initiative, where different commodities, particularly those ones that will give us mileage in addressing food security in the country. So we assess the cassava value chain players. What are the challenges? What is your experience? What do we need to do as a central bank so that we can be able to address some of those challenges? As you are aware, one of the key challenges, of course, in the space is the funding. Access to fund. Even today, it has already been justified. So, the lessons we learned from that forum. Then in April, 2020, that was last year. Then the management of Central Bank of Nigeria, implemented the 5-star Cassava project, which has already been discussed today. So the aim there is that, owing to the fact that cassava has a long gestation period compared with other crops such as rice, maize, and all that. And also the profitability there is not really something much higher, except this year where we had rising prices. Farmers, of course, are enjoying it because they are making more profit. So lessons learned, now it was implemented. So after the implementation of 5-star, what is more specifics, especially in addressing the issue of job security, or of course creating jobs for our own teeming youth in the country, was that a farmer now, to support him, he can be able to cultivate up to 5 hectares of land, at a stretch, unlike the conventional Anko Borua program where we finance 1 hectare per one farmer. We have what we call economics of production, which talks about the detail of the processes and all the activities that will drive cost. So the total amount that is requested to cultivate 1 hectare of land is determined by what the economics of production. So in that regard, we now enhance the production of our farmer, but then we put up all the necessary guidelines to guide those that can benefit, which I'm sure quite a number of people in this house have understood all of that by way of those with track record in terms of repayment. You see, we are talking about sustainability. This project can only be sustainable if people are paying back. So they follow the guidelines, they enhance their profitability, they pay back so that we can use that money and also give it to others. So far so good. We have funded a couple of them, and you heard it from the presenter initially. He said our initial production then was about 53 million metric tons, but today we are somewhere around 60 million metric tons. And out of that number, Central Bank has funded over 100,000 hectares cultivation under the 5-star project, as it were, and we are still open, we are still counting to do more and more. So that is why this engagement is indeed a very good one. And coming back lastly, we're talking about seed development. So IITA has been one of our critical stakeholders in this journey to ensure that we have improved seed variety so that it will enhance the yield. Our target under 5-star is actually achieve minimum or 30 metric tons per hectare, so that when the farmer's profitability is improved, they will make more profit, they will pay back the money, and then so that if they pay back the money, it makes it more sustainable, and it will reduce our import bills, which is currently stands at about $600 million, which is quite crazy. So with that, we can ensure that we support our teeming youth in Nigeria that will curb out insecurity and other menaces in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chiedozie, I'm going to come to you because by force of what you do, you have a global outlook to your project, the Nextgen Cassava program. How do you see the support from the donor community in enhancing our competencies in the cassava value chain, upping our capacity to maximize the benefits that can come from it, whether it is job creation, whether it is income, improvement of the livelihoods of Nigerians economically, or from a nutrition standpoint, which is clearly one of your fortes. How is that ecosystem looking?
Thank you. And so from the globe, and I'll use my project Nextgen Cassava for an example. So we have the donor community trying to fund what we do. One of the things that we've discussed and worked on, especially at our IITA, being an international center and also the gateway for most of this project, is what we call country-specific alignment. Making, so it's not a donor drop-down, like, oh, where are you, Nigeria, where are the cassava researchers? Take this money and go and do something, and they define how you want to do it. That used to be the case in the past, but we've had a good understanding that right now, we need to define what we want to do. And the question is, do you know what you want to do? And is it in line with the global best practices, or what is expected to give you the best result? So those are discussions we have with the donor, and sometimes they come with their own ideas about how those things are, but we get to reach a compromise, a middle point, where we say, this is what culturally will be important for us. This is what knowing the kind of economy we run is going to give us the best result. Nextgen is funded $35 million US for cassava, not just for Nigeria, but I mean, Nigeria gets almost half of that when you combine IITA and NRCRI from the funds we get to develop best varieties of cassava. And you see that happening now. If you look at your folders, the 5 new varieties you have that were released last year are products of Nextgen Cassava breeding projects. So, and we're doing this in many other countries. So it's important that we know, we define, and this forum provides such an opportunity. We define what are the kind of varieties that we need. A few years ago, the government, I think it was during the past administration before this one, and they were saying, we want high starch varieties. Oh, they say research institutes, NRCRI, IITA, give us high starch varieties. Which varieties will give us 25 tons, 25% starch yield? And I said, but you have not sown. We are talking about seed. You need to sow before you can reap. We don't have such varieties. We are having varieties that are very good for gari and fufu. Those are the varieties that we have. Now, transforming them to be varieties for high starch is miracle or magic, depending on how you want to do it. So what can the country do to fund research to the point that we say, we want varieties? I mean, I give you money as a grant. That fund was saying that they give money to tertiary institutions. I did not hear that they give to any research institute. He mentioned universities and colleges of agriculture. And we know what prevails in the country. The varieties come from the research institutes, but they are not funding them. So it will be a good opportunity to say, policy at that fund change to fund research institutes, or National Agricultural Seed Council, as they are developing regulation for a seed like cassava. So this fund is given to you. I want you to give me within the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, the kind of variety that will give me starch of 25%. Then we say there's a deal, and we begin to work, and people will be tracking it. That is the kind of policy change that I think we want to be seeing. People funding research, because if you don't develop the variety, then you don't have a seed sector to talk about. Thank you.
That's fine, Chiedozie. You've just punched an issue that really tickles me. And I'm going to come to you with, the output from the way I feel out of Professor Egesi's statement. One side of it is government fund. The other side is, how can we innovatively create an enabling environment for private sector players, to move resources into that ecosystem. And in that regard, I am going to be asking you NIPC. Investment promotion. What are you doing to see how we can woo, major big-ticket investors into this ecosystem that is in itself a gold mine waiting to be plundered, as it were, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moderator. From NIPC perspective, from NIPC, we've always been working with all policy makers. We're always involved in them, and our activities are, let me put it this way, we stand more for the private sector than for government. Not that we support government very well, the reason being that if the private sector does very well, government will do very well. There are so many things government will gain if the private sector is well developed.
Yeah.
Taxes, the issue of unemployment will be taken off from government, and so many other things that will happen in the economy.
Yeah.
So anytime we are looking at any policy, we are looking at how much is going to favor the private sector. And if there's any area we find any lacuna, we'll bring it out. If we find any constraint to what will be done to move a particular sector forward, we also bring it out to their knowledge.
Okay.
Because we want the government to run very well, because it's the private sector that pays the tax.
I agree.
It's the private sector that provides, let me tell you, in any area they're investing, they also provide infrastructure.
That's true.
And by doing so, they're helping the government. So we are very much in line with the private sector to see that they do well. And from now, continuing on that, we have incentives that NIPC administers.
Good.
Though they are all government incentives. Let's start from here. There's 0% on import duty on imported machinery for agriculture. And I'm sure that many people are not aware that there's no duty paid on any agricultural machinery. Well, there's also this 20% tax credit for investment in research and development.
Good.
On any investment that is that's supposed to assess
that's very good information, actually.
Yes. And thirdly, we have the pioneer status incentives, tax exemption of between 3 to 5 years on any investment on all the lines of the value chains of agriculture.
Okay.
All,
Mr.
from
Seji,
even crop, planting the crop to...
I've just been told that I have all day, but I'm sure you understand. We don't have time at all. So there is a clear, laid out, policy-oriented incentivization process in place for investors, private investors who would want to come into, the cassava value chain, particularly in the seed development space. I like the sound of that, and it's on that score, because of the limited time, I'm going to be saying, okay, in one word, not even one sentence, one word, tell us, my discussants, what you think the outlook for this sector, or rather this value chain and this crop is going forward. Professor Egesi, one word I said. Don't mind me, go ahead.
So I will ask us to challenge the researchers, because we need that innovation to drive this. We cannot have a very successful seed system that works for any crop, cassava or any crop, except we work with innovation. Somebody has got to pay for it, whether private sector or public sector, but you have to challenge the researchers and make sure that you get the desired result. Thank you.
Thank you. Doc.
Yes, agriculture is business, and one of the things that is preventing us from treating the sector and the opportunity as business is with us here. So we have service provider now in the seed sector.
That's right.
Let's encourage them. Let's use them because they will take us to the promised land. We are in business already.
Thank you, Doc. Yes, Perpetua.
Yeah, agriculture is where to be. Use certified seed for high productivity. And please cooperate with NASC for a better future in that cassava sector. Thank you.
Excellent. Nurudeen.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I would like to use this opportunity to bring you what do you call it, confirmation of our drive from Central Bank, that this time around we are going to look into private sector-led arrangement, in the implementation of 5-star cassava projects. So our doors are open. We really want, more private sector to pick interest in this so that they can reach us. Our guidelines are there, cvn.gov.ng, so we are open and we are ready to actually finance more anchors, processors. In fact, as you know, we do value chain approach. But please, let me use this opportunity also to tell you, one of the key challenges we've realized based on the lessons learned was availability of cleared land.
He has the money.
Land is not
he has the money,
so
so I have to allow
availability of cleared land. So in that regard, now from Central Bank now implemented what we call PAADS, Private Sector-Led Accelerated Agricultural Development Scheme. The objective of that one is actually to fund you. It's a long-term funding so that you can open more land. It runs for up to 6 years, depending on what commodity are we going to do. So when we give you loan to open more land, it takes a longer time. When you do production, you'll be easing it out gradually up to 6 years, which you can pay. You use Anchor Borrower or 5-star program to cultivate, which is of course an annual or biannual productions, as the case may be. So what I'm trying to say is that value chain financing is available. Please, we have the new cassava champion now. You can engage us so that we can do more.
Thank you very much, Nurudeen. I appreciate that. Mr. Seji?
Yeah, thank you. I want to say, first of all, the private sector should look at, we have on our website some of the incentives on all aspects of the value chain so that they can see how they will assess to encourage them. And moreover, I want to say that we should move any policy that will help us to move out the cassava sector, plantation and all the value chain, particularly the initial stage, is so labor intensive. If there's any mechanized way to do it, so that will encourage most of these youths to go into it, it will reduce unemployment and it will boost our economy.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I am forced to bring this session to a close, but not before I say that from a policy standpoint, the conversation that we have had here will go into further subjecting the National Agriculture, Technology and Innovation Plan, which is a new policy that will be taken over from the agriculture promotion policy. We will be subjecting it on the basis of the conversations here to a review, and we will incorporate most certainly these comments, these positions, particularly as it relates to the cassava crop. Thank you very much for your time.